Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Knight, and today I'm going to be talking to y'all about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Last week I gave you an introduction as to what Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is. I told you a little bit about the history, a little bit about a few people who have it, and a little bit about the symptoms. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my journey with Ehlers-Danlos. I have HEDS, which is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos. It mainly means that my joints pop in and out of place and I have a problem with my bones. But I also have a bunch of other side effects and symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos, such as anxiety, my lungs don't fill to capacity, my heart has palpitations, my stomach doesn't work like it should, my liver doesn't work like it should, my bladder doesn't work like it should, and I have POTS, which is where I get dizzy when I stand up, and a bunch of other different things that are all interconnected and somehow unrelated seeming, but they all work together to form EDS. So my symptoms started when I was about 4 years old with severe pain, chronic pain, and anxiety. My first panic attack was my first day of pre-K, and it was a mess. Been a mess since. Things started getting really, really bad when I turned probably about 14, and then when I was 16, it got beyond my control. And nobody in my town could understand what was going on with me. Everyone told me it was all in my head, maybe it was just hormones. When I got older, it'd be fine. And then I went off to college. And when I went off to college, I had a moment where I was walking from a bus stop to a dining hall and my right hip popped completely out of place. Well, I didn't know it wasn't supposed to do that, and so I kept walking. My pain tolerance had built to the point where I could walk on a completely dislocated hip. So I walked from the dining hall up a hill to where sports medicine was on campus, and I waited for 4 hours for them to come out and tell me that it's impossible for me to have walked there with the dislocated hip and they wouldn't see me. So I called my friend who is a football player, and he came and he picked me up and he said, yeah, your hip is definitely out of place, and he fixed it for me and he taught me how. So ever since then, my mom has been on this mission to try and figure out what was wrong and why my hip popped out of place. So when I came home from college after that year, which I ended up being forced to come home from college because I got so sick, I wasn't physically able to get out of bed many days. And when I came home, we started seeing different doctors. We saw a gastrointestinal, we saw an endocrinologist, we saw someone who does arthritis, and just about anyone in town who could see me, and no one really knew exactly what it was. One day my mom was doing research on all of my different symptoms, and she came across Ehlers-Danlos. And she asked both my aunt and my former aunt who were in the medical field about it. And my former aunt said that she actually knew of a doctor in town who had a patient with Ehlers-Danlos and she could get me an appointment with him. And so she did. And I remember we walked into the doctor's office, he looked at me and he told me to do some weird bendy things. Then he looked at my feet and my hands and he goes, yep, you have Ehlers-Danlos. And we took a genetic test and got it sent off. After that, he put me on a couple of medications and they didn't seem to be working. They only seemed to be making it worse. So my mom got an appointment at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I spent 10 days there and saw 28 doctors for them to tell me, yes, you have Ehlers-Danlos. Yes, Ehlers-Danlos is the reason for all of your other problems. No, we do not know how to treat it. No, it is not curable. I recommend going swimming and getting some sunshine. They have different ways of treating it now, but most of them are physical therapies or medicines that target certain symptoms or certain illnesses that are caused by Ehlers-Danlos. So that's what I went through with my diagnosis, and that's how I got my diagnosis. And it was a very difficult process for me, and it's still very, very difficult. I have gotten a lot better over the years. I used to have to wear knee braces every single day of my life in order to be able to walk, and now I only need them if I go to concerts or festivals or on hikes. And so progress is possible, but it is also not linear at all. So that is all I have to say today. I know I've basically been rambling, but that's kind of where you go when you have Ehlers-Danlos. It's a big ramble and it's kind of all over the place, and as is my brain and my body. So next week I'll be telling you guys a little bit about how to get a diagnosis and what kind of doctors you need to see, and I'll be talking to you about the Beighton scale, which is a flexibility test you can see to see if you have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos or are subject to be tested for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos. Bye guys!